Now, Ghana's economy faces serious risk as government business in parliament has stalled for weeks. Both sides of the House are locked in a dispute over majority control following Speaker Alban Bagben's declaration of 4 seats as vacant. The standoff has led to 3 emergency recalls and indefinite adjournment, with a 4th recall underway. Now, key government businesses, including the 2025 first quarter budget presentation, remain in limbo just 29 days before the election, leaving Parliament unable to advance critical legislation. First, listen to NPP MP for Asante Akem North, Andy Apiakubi, who expressed disappointment in his colleagues' fight over seat, describing the happenings as shameful.
Consider the enterprise Ghana first. What is it that would be in the interest of the country that we need to pursue? And for us, we are behaving as school children who are fighting over seats or fighting over sides of the teacher. These things are not necessary.
But do you tell your colleagues these things?
No, I tell everybody. I don't have to tell. I'm very disappointed with the total behavior of Parliament. I'm very disappointed. And I'm wondering, could it have been better? Why this? You understand? So we call ourselves honorable. What we are doing is honorable enough. And when we go to Parliament, we leave, instead of conducting business, this one is saying that, this one is saying that. I'm indicting the whole House, both sides. And I'm
Are you willing to sit on the minority side?
I'm disappointed. If we vote and we come out to be minority, people have sat on the minority side before. Mm-hmm. In fact, my colleagues who were in the 5th Parliament and 6th Parliament, they were in a minority, they sat there. What changed? We will come to this majority side because we are in a majority. And being in a majority is by way of numbers.
True.
And indeed, if you look at the Constitution, and if you read the 97, particularly read from the beginning of 97-1, you say in Parliament, in Parliament, there. If you change whilst you are there, it's not futuristic. So this one, we shouldn't even waste too much time. I'm telling you that I was so disappointed with the ruling of Professor Okoye, and I have always condemned it. But that doesn't mean that we have to continue to be belaboring the point.
Now, private legal practitioner Martin Pebo says the majority is simply hiding behind the impasse to accuse the Speaker of wrongdoing when they are unable to whip their members to prosecute businesses on the floor.
The bottom line is that they didn't have the numbers, so they sought something, a deflection, because they had to go in there, even if all of them didn't want to enter, so that maybe if there was a crowd, it could easily degenerate. They could have stood outside, then Apenu and maybe 3 of the other leaders would go with him, then they would make their representation. You think Apenu didn't know how to do this? And in actual fact, look, they could have stood as majority. They could have stood on the left side of the speaker and still transacted business. What is it about sitting on the right? It's about the business, substance over form. But the reason they didn't do all of this is that they didn't have the numbers. So they sought to avoid an embarrassment. That's how come they created this whole confusion. The speaker is not disobeying the Supreme Court decision. He is not. The MPP didn't have the numbers, and so they created this situation so that we would take attention from the fact that they can't marshal enough numbers.
But what is the implication of all of this on Ghana's economy? Here is Professor of Economics at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfred Bokpin.
Overall, it's not good news. Overall, it doesn't help to consolidate investor confidence in our economy. Don't forget that we are still under an IMF program. We have gone through an expensive debt restructuring and other tax measures. We just finished our external debt restructuring, external bilateral, and especially external commercial in terms of Eurobonds and all of that. So you expect that every organ of government, everybody's action and inaction will be telling a positive story so that we consolidate the confidence that we are seeing gradually. It's also an election year, that also presents some level of risk and all of that. But I think that overall, it doesn't bear testimony to the maturity of our democracy.
Away from that story tonight, Ghana's rule of law and justice system that ensures that laws are applied equally and fairly to all individuals, protecting rights and preventing abuse of power, has seen the worst decline among 54 African countries over the last decade. This is according to the 2024 Mo Ibrahim Index of African Governance report. The report showed that the country's index dropped by 14.9 points between 2014 and 2023, making it the worst deterioration in Africa. Meanwhile, judges' autonomy to interpret and review existing laws, operate without fear or favor, independent from other branches of government, have also deteriorated by 50% over the period, dropping from 100-point index as of 2017 to 50 in 2023. My colleague Isaac Hofieje of our research desk joins me in studio with details from that particular report. Kofi, in which areas did Ghana drop the most as far as the report is concerned?
Well, let's focus on the judicial system or rule of law. And as you can see on the smart wall, this is actually our performance when we talk about the trend of, rule of law under the Mo Ibrahim, index. If you score 100, it's actually the best, and 0 means the worst. And you can see the trend so far, right, in the past decade from 2014 to 2023. Now, look at it. 2014, we were scoring 75 over 100. We moved to 75.1, and we peaked at 77 in terms of rule of law and justice. Now, just look at this. We start to decline from 2017, 77 to 71.1 to 67.3, and now we are talking about 60.1. So just in the space of rule of law and justice, we've dropped from that peak of 77 to now 60.1. Very, very significant drop there. Now, let's look at some of the factors that they looked at in terms of, coming up with this index. There you have it on the smart wall, the executive compliance with the rule of law. Then you also have the impartial of the judicial system and other key issues that they looked at in terms of coming up with the index. Now, this is also an interesting one, the executive compliance with the rule of law. It is important to also gauge that, and so we've been looking at that. With that, I think that we've not really dropped that much. Okay. We are still around the 76 and the average of 75. Very good compared to the one that we saw earlier. Now, this for me is the big issue. Just look at it. The impartial of the judicial system. How are we doing in terms of this index? And if you look at the graph, it tells a story for itself. Out of 100, as of 2017, we were scoring 97. Very fantastic, excellent. Now, from 2017 to 2023, what are we looking at? We've moved from that peak of 97 to now 68.3, almost falling below average there. Now, this for me is another one. If you look at law enforcement, for this, we are scoring below average. This is a no-go area for us at all. In terms of this, we've moved from 60, now we are scoring at somewhere around 43. This is really below average, and this is not one thing that we have to be happy about. This is also one other one, the autonomy of the judiciary. More or less like a stepwise movement in terms of the graph. Yeah. Just look at it. In 2017, we're scoring 100 over 100. Same in 2014, 100 over 100. Now look at it. We've fallen from 100
in 2017 there.
We've just halved our scores, and we are now moved from 100, talking about 50. Significant drop there, Carlos.
Thank you so much for the details there. This has to do with the country's democracy. You're still watching JoyNews Prime with me, Carlos Caloni. We'll take a short break. We'll return with more. Please stay. Now, welcome back. The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has responded to a statement from the Health Services Workers Union, suggesting the government is delaying in finalizing negotiations on their conditions of service. A statement issued by the Health Service Workers on Thursday, November 7, 2024, indicated your intention to go on a strike should the government fail to include or conclude negotiations by Monday, November 11. The Chief Executive of Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Benjamin Arthur, however, at a press conference stated the actions by the union is an affront to labor practice.
We had invited the Health Service Workers Union to continue with our engagement yesterday, but few hours before the engagement, they issued a press statement, more or less accusing the government team of delaying the negotiations. They went ahead to state that if by November 11th, which is Monday, the issues are still outstanding, they will advise themselves in the best language that government understands. And we believe this is an affront to a fair labor practice, because we are engaged in negotiations. You are to come to the table, more so when we believe that the issues at stake have been largely occasioned, if there is any delay, have been largely occasioned by some happenings which is coming from their end. So to get out there and say that the government team has delayed in concluding the negotiations, and to say that by Monday, if there is no conclusion, you are taking your own course, we think that that is an unfair labor practice.
Now, Benjamin Arthur further cautioned the Health Workers Union and urged them to retract and apologize for their threat.
We would want them, we want the leadership of the HSWU to retract the said press statement, because it's a show of bad faith, and issue apology, because it is by listening to their plight that we have come this far. We were just about concluding, but when they brought their demands, we thought that, well, as a government team that is very passionate about the well-being of its staff, definitely should not throw away such demands because it has come at the tail end of the negotiation. So that was admitted. They should withdraw that intimidation, and we believe that that will pave way for fair practice, for a harmonious industrial relations. It will create the peaceful atmosphere for all of us to continue to engage. We will want to take this opportunity to urge HSWU and its members to continue to engage, because that is the only way out in this matter. That is the only way out. If you go and step out there and say that you are going to declare a strike and go on strike, you yourself will occasion further delay. You yourself will occasion a further delay. So if we are interested in expediting actions and signing, what we will demand of them is to stay the course and let us engage peacefully.
Now, in a related development, the National Labour Commission, NLC, has secured a court order against Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, CLOGSAG, to call off its strike action with immediate effect. Let's bring you details of the court order now. There you have it on your screen, and it reads, upon reading the affidavit of Ofosua Samuel of house number C199, Nole Efia Street, My John, Accra, the Executive Secretary for the applicant herein filed on 7th day of November 2024 in support of motion ex parte for an order for interlocutory injunction. And upon hearing the submission of Alexander Owusu Jr. Esquire, counsel for and on behalf of the applicant herein, it is hereby ordered that the respondent, their executive officers, members, agents, servants, employees, and other persons are restrained from further continuation of their strike action from 7th November 2024. It is hereby further ordered that the respondent by itself, its executive officers, members, agents, servants, employees, and other persons are to comply with the directive of the National Labour Commission dated 6th November 2024 and call off the industrial action. Now, we've been trying to reach closer for some response to this particular story, but we've not been successful. But moving on, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is defending its decision to not hold a Farmers' Day parade today, which has been replaced with an awards night dinner. The ministry's public relations officer, Bagbara Tanko, says the change aims to project farming as an attractive career choice. He explained that the awards dinner was designed to present farmers in a more attractive manner, aligning with the ministry's broader goal of inspiring young people to see agriculture as a viable and desirable profession.
They're holding an awards night and dinner ceremony for the award winners, both the regional category winners and national category winners. As stated earlier, since 1985, Farmers' Day, we have always celebrated, and since then we have reviewed the mode of celebration. In 2017, we actually reviewed it to ensure that national celebration was merged with the regional. So, for instance, if Volta region is hosting us, we brought all the 16 regions to a central point, and then we pair them 3 per a day, and that gave them opportunity to exhibit their agricultural produce, also exhibit some form of culture, and that has been the mode of celebration until 2023. All that we gathered last year being the beginning, yes, they identified some few challenges of which we had to work on. We believe that the farmer, we've gotten to a point that we need to show them some level of comfort. We've gotten to a point that it's not just the debt work that they do.
Meanwhile, President Farmers Association of Ghana is urging the government to prioritize resources towards tackling galamsey and strengthening agricultural support instead of focusing solely on the National Farmers' Day Award ceremony. Meanwhile, the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana is asking the government to increase budget allocation for the agri sector. The group, in a statement released to commemorate Farmers' Day, also wants the government to enhance private sector participation. Let's run you through key findings by the group. There you have it on your screen. And the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana Farmers' Day findings. According to them, the farmer population is aging with an average age of 55 years, threatening the sector's sustainability. Rudimentary and unproductive skills stifle true rural economic growth and transformation. And they go on to say Ghana recently ranked low on skills development according to the World Bank's Business Ready profile. And these are their key findings. One, they say low productivity and efficiency, limited access to finance and credit facilities, inadequate infrastructure, i.e. roads, storage and irrigation, high cost of high post-harvest losses, limited value addition and processing, as well as poor market access and pricing. And labor and productivity concerns, according to the farmers' finding, they say low-skilled workforce, limited training and capacity building, inefficient extension service, high labor cost. These are their key concerns. And they've given some recommendations also. The first one is that they want government to increase budget allocation for agriculture, to also streamline regulations and reduce bureaucracy and enhance private sector participation. They want government to prioritize agricultural research and development and also develop a comprehensive agricultural skills development program. So these are the findings from the agribusiness people. Away from that story, the diplomatic community is getting alarmed over what they describe as signals of violence in the upcoming election. The UK and US are closely watching the situation, noting growing tensions as campaign rallies and public statements by candidates heat up. Despite these concerns, they remain hopeful that Ghana's long-standing tradition of peaceful elections will hold. But to achieve that, they are urging Ghanaians to reject violence when they head to the polls, as the country's reputation of peace and democracy in Africa is at stake. Here is the UK High Commissioner Harriet Thompson speaking at the commemoration of King Charles's birthday here in Accra.
Many of us here tonight will be closely following the run-up to Ghana's elections next month The UK doesn't support any party over another, but we strongly support Ghana's democracy. Like Ghanaians, we want to see this country continue to be the most stable and successful democracy in the region. That's why we're funding independent domestic observers and why British High Commission staff will travel across the country in coordination with many other diplomatic missions to see Ghanaian democracy in action. Unfortunately, my colleagues and I are frequently told by a range of people that they fear Ghana's 2024 elections will be less peaceful than previous elections. That's worrying for everyone, because an election that's not peaceful would be incredibly damaging for Ghana, as well as dangerous, of course, for those directly involved. But the good thing is that politicians and others in influential positions, many of you are here this evening, can prevent this from happening.
Now, earlier we heard from the U.S. Ambassador Virginia Palmer, who called on all political parties to commit to peace by signing the National Peace Pact. Shortly after the U.S. election, she emphasized the importance of unity and responsibility, urging leaders to prioritize the nation's stability above all.
Can not just refuse visas, but revoke visas for people who undermine or interfere with Ghana's democratic process. I think it's a very useful tool to have. I hope I don't have to use it. I hope it will deter bad behavior and hate speech. And I hope that I'll call again for early signing of the Peace Pact. I'll call on political leaders to come down hard on other candidates in races down the ticket, or even people just raising a ruckus in constituencies across the nation for coming out and saying that's not the kind of election we want to have.
But reacting to these concerns, security analyst Professor Kwesi Enin described the recent threat by the U.S. government to impose visa restrictions on individuals involved in election violence during the December election as shameful. Speaking on Election Brief with my colleague MFR Dechi, Professor Enin criticized the U.S. stance, calling it hypocritical. He argued that members of the democratic community often support individuals with questionable character in other countries, making this recent threat contradictory.
Let's be reflective here. And I've been traveling around this country quite extensively. And I don't get a sense that even ordinary Ghanaians are tense and frightened.
Okay.
And this is what bothers me about the arrogance of the assessment by the donor community sometimes. That here we are, this is what we think, and whether you like it or not, that is right. I think the usage of visas as a tool for people supposedly who have encouraged electoral violence of sorts to be denied visas, I think it's extremely shameful. Because these same people have supported people who have become presidents in other countries, whose histories are less than palatable. See, so I worry about the ad hoc, determination of how particular policies can be implemented. And particularly when we look at their own countries, probably where things have happened and the same rules did not apply.
Now moving on, the Northern Ghana Union of the Seventh-day Adventist Church has launched an ambitious year campaign to restore the vitality of polluted water bodies in the country. Dubbed Heal Our Waters, the church seeks to educate its members and the general public on harmful human activities that endanger the sustainability of the environment, detoxifying water bodies polluted by illegal mining and harmful agricultural practices. Leaders say the threats posed to water bodies, especially by Galamsey, has compelled the church to act. There's more in the following report.
The Northern Ghana Union of the SDA Church has 2,251 congregations in all 9 regions of the northern sector, including the Ashanti region, with a total membership of 220,000 as at the end of July 2024. The church says it is overwhelmed by the negative impact of human activities on the environment, especially water bodies. This has affected the soul-winning efforts of the church, as new converts can no longer be baptized into streams polluted by illegal miners. The church's leadership hopes to instill attitudinal change among Ghanaians toward the environment, helping detoxify polluted streams and embarking on tree plantations along river banks, among other year-long activities.
Help put across the message that it's about time we stop complaining and start becoming part of the solution. First, we intend starting with education. First, we will create the awareness, let people know that, yes, the problem exists. Some people just hear it and they because they haven't even seen it, they don't believe that there's a problem. So we intend visiting water bodies that have been polluted, not only by Galamsey, but even human trash from our home.
Country Director for Adventist Development and Relief Agency, Dr. Samuel Kankambwedu, says Ghanaians should be concerned with the effects of Galamsey, an improper application of agricultural inputs on the environment, which has adversely affected the food chain. While pledging the support of ADRA for the program, he insists the time to act is now.
The way and manner we are destroying our waters. And so, if we don't do something now, something is going to happen to us. We are going to die. We want to support this campaign 100%.
Former Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. Henry Kwabnakokufu, in a keynote address, commended the Seventh-day Adventist Church for the bold initiative. He wants all stakeholders to play key roles in safeguarding the environment.
Today, I've witnessed a very, very profound program that is calling upon the religious bodies to get involved, actively involved in this fight against environmental degradation. Many a times we think the state alone has the responsibility, but today we are aware that as individuals, as group of people, as wherever you find ourselves, whether in the religious sects, we do have responsibility.
There were fraternal messages from the Forestry Commission and the Environmental Protection Agency. Ohim Interiors reports for JoyNews.
We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll take you to our election headquarters. Please stay. Election headquarters is brought to you by Potential Real Estate, your trusted partner in real estate. Petrosol Platinum Energy, energizing dreams. The Chartered Institute of Management Accountant and the American Institute of Certified Public Accountant together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountant. German Ozone Medical Center, Alternative Therapy, Dental Wellness and Beauty. Chobos Technologies, a convenient service and Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging the gap for positive youth development. Now this evening, the NDC presidential candidate John Mahama has criticized President Akufo-Addo for what he describes as self-glorification following the unveiling of a statue in the President's honor in the Western region. He is urging the president to remain humble. He says leaders should focus on serving the people rather than seeking personal recognition. The NDC presidential candidate John Mahama says President Akufo-Addo's recent unveiling of a statue in his honor in the Western region is self-glorification, which must not be encouraged. Speaking in the Ewotu Senya East constituency on the first day of his tour of the central region, he urged the president to remain humble.
Ezu na onye ose ofa ho eno no call takrade na no the statue akosi ho ono akopa ho ntoma what be that Ezu e was say o mampanyi bia unya ahobrase nipa na wo so mo bo abaso na mo kamfo enye wan kasa no akoye o statue na de abesi ho no ankasa wako mo bo nsem mame no akopa ho ntoma what be that Ezu Nwako University bia yema o doctor abra o daso ye o mampanyo anka o de awie nako nom ka se o ye hwe wedwuma o ya ade sei enti ye pese wo ba na ebo abaso na ma honorary doctorate University of Ghana na we chimo monsa Mahama man doctor nunto minim baby odeko. Ezu Eza.
Now, away from the presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has made a bold promise to cocoa farmers in Ghana, pledging to provide free tertiary education to their children if he is elected as president. He made this promise at the 2024 Farmers' Day celebration in Drobonso, where he outlined his vision for the cocoa industry and the benefits that farmers can expect under his leadership. According to Dr. Bawumia, the free tertiary education policy is aimed at empowering the children of cocoa farmers to acquire the skills and knowledge needed to improve their livelihoods and contribute to the development of the country. He says it is expected to be an improvement of the already existing Cocoa Board Scholarship Program.
Nananum yebu mai from 1957. Usha yemfa nananum nkaho. Yedu nananum itu nchen but muna mukuta asasi. Yedi yana saanwa embuaye mepese mesisa mrano section 63 of the Chieftaincy Act maybe amendino yedi more powers bama nananum namambuaye in the management and the governance of our country. Because niema bibri wohwa jise yebo nananum amanie ye license for mining concessions mwasasi so you have to be part of the licensing process. Ye be register ene nananum muna mukuta asasino. But most of the time, we register because assassin also. We be register assassin. We be to fees no bibri. And yes, the dispensation all lands, 2 lands are nananum be register. Initially, you be register for free. So that we encourage you to register. Because man register, or man situation you be obeying himself. Sasasi way there. But muton dia na mo to your fee. And yes, mutondi I beji a fee every more. But registration, you be register amamo for free. Muton na di anayaji ya kapre kakrawo. No, they will also say.